In southeast Scotland in the 12th century, the village of Linton near the Cheviot Hills was beset by a gigantic and terrible serpent. It lived in a hole under a hill and ravaged the countryside unchecked, eating whatever prey it desired and not at all picky whether that was a man or a beast. Unlike some dragons, it did not breathe fire. Instead, more akin to the serpent, it breathed a poisonous vapor that no one could withstand. It would sometimes sun itself on a high rocky hill, called Wyrmstone, at least until the 19th century. I'll pause here to note that the Anglo-Saxon and Viking word for dragon was worm, meaning both a serpent and a dragon, and depending on the size, often the same thing. Some had wings and legs, others did not. While the term draka was also used, worm was often the word of choice regardless of the number of legs. Now, back to the story. Many brave men of the village attempted to slay the beast, but all had failed. The rewards offered were great enough that even a few knights had taken a shot at it, but didn't do any better. The village of Linton and others nearby were seriously thinking of just forgetting the whole thing and moving as far away as they could, when the Laird of Larriston stepped up. The Laird had a reputation for reckless bravery. What was apparently less well known was, despite his reputation, he was no fool. He made one attack on the beast with ordinary weapons, which failed utterly, like all the others. He managed to escape with his life, but unlike all the others, he didn't give up. The Laird knew there was no point in attempting another frontal attack so long as the creature could simply breathe its poison at anyone coming near it. Then he had an idea. He created a ball of peat, often used for fuel in the North Country, and coated it in pitch, attached it to the tip of his lance, and set it ablaze. When the creature opened its mouth to poison him, he thrust the lance down its throat, sealing it with burning pitch and peat fire. The creature's poison backed up on it and burned it alive from the inside out, and so ended the Linton Worm. It was said that the creature coiled about a hill and squeezed it so hard in its dying agony that it left a series of spiral rings leading up to the crest of the hill. Or maybe that was simply the remains of an Iron Age hill fort. Who's to say, really? The story goes that for this deed the Laird was given vast tracts of land and the title of Baron by William the Lion, King of Scotland, and then went on to found the Somerville family line. Legend or not, the Somervilles were the lords of Linton and remained so for the next 400 years. Besides a terrible dragon, this account also includes a curse, which always adds a bit of spice to a story. These events were alleged to have happened in the 14th century. The heir of the Lord of Lambton Castle in County Durham was a roguish sort who delighted in thumbing his nose at the norms of the community. One fine Sunday he decided to go fishing on the River Weir in full view of the folk attending services at a nearby chapel, apparently to emphasize that he didn't care what they thought. As for fishing, he didn't really catch anything until the very end when he hooked something that looked a bit like a really ugly eel. A passing stranger asked if he had any luck, whereupon the lad replied that he believed he had caught the devil. He threw the thing into a nearby well and promptly forgot about it. As the years passed, the lad matured a bit, somewhat got his act together, and fulfilled expectations by going on crusade. By comparison, fishing was probably a better use of his time, but I digress. In the meantime, the thing he had thrown into the well was also maturing dramatically. It soon outgrew the well and coiled itself around a site now called Worms Hill, and from there proceeded to terrorize the countryside. Many brave knights tried to slay the creature, but when they wounded it, the cuts healed almost immediately. Even if they sliced it in half with their swords, the worm would simply rejoin itself instantly. The knights would fight until they were exhausted, whereupon the worm simply coiled around them and crushed them. Finally, a large trough was placed near the castle gates and filled with milk, in an attempt to appease the beast, but nothing worked. When the young man finally returned home, he found a mess, with the dragon keeping a large portion of the county in fear of their lives. Ashamed that his own folly had led to this disaster, he took responsibility and vowed to slay the beast himself. Yet he understood, from witness accounts of all the other knights that had tried and failed, that it would be no easy task. He sought out a wise woman of the area for advice. The first thing she told him in no uncertain terms was what a knucklehead he had been. He humbly accepted her scolding, knowing he deserved every word of it. Once that was out of the way, however, she told him what to do. The first thing she advised him to do was to go to a nearby chapel and swear a solemn oath to kill the first living thing he met once he had slain the worm. If he betrayed that oath, no lord of Lambton for 9 generations would die peacefully in his bed. Those of us who have an interest in folklore and legend will spot this motif right away. Other examples being the story of Yeftok in the Book of Judges and King Idomeneus in his oath to Poseidon. So we all know where that goes. The second thing she told him to do was to go to his smith and have the man fix iron spikes over his armor until he looked like a hedgehog. Once this was done, he was to stand on a stone in the middle of the river Wyrm and face the dragon there when it came down to the water to drink. When the dragon appeared and they fought, at first it looked like a repeat of all the other battles. The dragon entangled him in its coils and attempted to crush him, but the iron spikes drove deeper into the creature the more it tried until the river ran red with its blood, and it was somewhat weakened. Now the heir of Lambton seized his chance and began chopping the monster into bits. Only this time the pieces, because of the wise woman's advice, fell into the river and were carried away by the current before the dragon could pull itself back together. The young knight kept hacking until there was literally nothing left of the Lambton Worm. Exhausted but triumphant, the knight blew his horn in a prearranged signal that meant his victory, at which point his father was supposed to release the heir's favorite hound so it could come running to meet him, and so he could sacrifice it, however reluctantly, to fulfill his vow. It didn't work that way. His father was so excited at his son's deed that he forgot himself and ran ahead beating the hound there, and so the heir's own father was the first living thing he met. He slew the hound instead because he could not kill his father, but the damage was done. The first 3 lords of Lambton who followed him indeed did not die peacefully in their beds, but some providence must have taken pity, as it was only those 3 generations that fulfilled the conditions of the broken vow, not all 9. The particulars of these 2 legends were drawn from William Henderson's Notes on the Folklore of the Northern Counties of England and the Borders, 1879. There's a lot more in there, and the book is still easily available in digital form. If you want to find out about all the parts I didn't have time for, check it out. And if you appreciate what I'm doing, leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel.